All right, and next up this evening, we have John Hicks. John is speaking to us today from Parenting Dyslexia. I've had the privilege of working with John both on a personal and a professional capacity in my time here at SEN Legal, and in the interest of letting parents know what is out there, what support is available, which may not come from a solicitor. I think it's really invaluable that he's here with us today. So in terms of getting started, John, do you want to give the listeners just a little bit of an overview about your background and how you arrived at parenting dyslexia?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to talk on this webinar. I suppose first and foremost, it all kind of came about because of my daughter. So 10 years ago, we had a culmination of events that led us to believe that our daughter was dyslexic. And not knowing anything about the dyslexic space, we just assumed that we'd walk into our school and say, hi, we think our daughter's dyslexic, she's struggling with her reading and writing, and she's not happy with what she feels that she's putting in terms of her potential. She's not happy with herself. So what can you do? So we're all very sort of expecting lots of support and help because it's an educational thing, right? We didn't know anything else about dyslexia. And it was very clear that the school wasn't going to do an awful lot, really. There was no kind of set thing in place to support a child in terms of testing or finding out more. From the school's perspective, they felt that she was passing everything, so that was kind of okay. And they said to us, they said, oh, don't worry, she's going to pass her GCSE, so you don't need to do anything. She just needs to kind of grow into the course and she'll be fine. But there was something about that that made me think, no, this is wrong. And what made me think this was wrong was not because of me or any kind of pushy parent thing. It was because my daughter was upset that she wasn't achieving as much as she was putting into the process. Her effort didn't equal attainment, and she wasn't happy with that. So we kept pushing, and then the school said, well, okay, well, if you can prove it, that she's dyslexic, then we'll do something about it. And that set us off on a journey of getting a diagnostic assessment in place. It put me on a journey of working with the school in partnership to get the right requirements, reasonable adjustments put in place to support her learning. We were lucky. The school, after that initial, if you can prove it, we'll do it element, once we got that in place and we jumped through that hurdle, it was okay. But there are many, many schools out there that aren't being willing to do what they're doing. And particularly at the moment, I think the level of requests for support for special educational needs is skyrocketing. And the education system just isn't providing what it needs to provide. So at the time we were going through that process, and I just started my own company as a consultant, if you like, in the special needs space a little bit, but also with marketing. And I was working for a company that did assistive technology as a marketing consultant. And so I was looking at technology that helped people with dyslexia to read. And it was all a bit of a coincidence. This was all working out at the same time. And then as time developed, I started a blog called the Studying with Dyslexia blog, which I still have now, and it's something that I write articles about mental well-being, assistive technology and education. And my big passion is the mental well-being side of anyone who has dyslexia or any of the sort of neurodiverse conditions that we're aware of: autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, and so forth. So more recently, I trained as a therapeutic counsellor, and I have a community of 2,500 parents on Facebook who I serve on a daily basis, supporting them with online support and also parent coaching sessions, specifically around helping them in the negotiation process. So it's my belief that there's a lot of scenarios in schools where children need support, and the negotiation process falls down because both parties, schools and parents, aren't able to negotiate in a way that's a partnership that helps both parties. And so often it kind of moves beyond that to the EHCP level, because that's seen as the but the school's not doing it, so I need to go to the local authority. And I think in some cases that's appropriate to do that with dyslexia, to go for the EHCP. But in many cases, I think there's a lot that a school can do to support a child with dyslexia that are it's very easy to implement. And it's really just due to a sort of poor communication between parents and the school. And if they can just tidy that up and work better with each other, communicate the right messages, then I think that could really help to unlock the potential of children. So I kind of sit in that space of supporting parents in terms of coaching them on how they negotiate with the school, how they manage their own emotions, because dyslexia and neurodiversity is genetic. And so often we can be in a situation as parents where we're negotiating with someone at school, and for whatever reason our back's up, we're tense, we're nervous, we're emotional about our child's needs, but equally we might be triggering on our own emotional challenges from when we were at school. And so in some cases, I've had some parents who you literally can't go into school to say anything to teachers because they'll just break down in tears before they even walk in the door. It's just too emotionally difficult for them. That's an extreme, but there's like a spectrum, if you like, between being able to completely go in objectively and negotiate, and then somewhere along the line, there's this kind of situation where all of our experiences influence the way that we interact with people. And this is a painful area for many. So that's the space I work in.
And how do you go about that? So you're talking about supporting parents to advocate for themselves and to advocate for their child and to do that more effectively. So how is it that you go about working with parents and working on those sorts of skills?
Yeah, it's very much a sort of holistic approach. So first and foremost, I do believe really strongly that there should be a partnership between the school and parents, but there's a triangle. So there's the parents in the mix, schools in the mix, but also the child's in the mix as well. And what worked very well for us was actually in most of our meetings with school, my daughter was in that meeting. So I wasn't speaking for my daughter, although I did at times, I did advocate for her. And I made sure that it was Jess that kind of said how she felt, because at the end of the day, a lot of the metrics that have been used within school to measure performance, it's very easy to move away from the personality of the child and to just look on an Excel spreadsheet or a piece of software and go, oh, that person's dropped down on their performance and so forth. So being able to bring the face in and say, oh, here's a 12-year-old child who's struggling, and they can tell us why they're struggling. Having that partnership between the three is really useful. So to do that, everyone has different needs. So it really does depend on the parents, but I'm working with parents on a once-a-month basis to deliver a sort of parent coaching session with them, understand what's happened in the month before as they've worked with the school. And I'm sitting with them, I'm getting them to put strategies in place for keeping the school accountable. So this is not a finger pointing exercise. This is okay, you said you're going to deliver this. I want to be able to review this with you and see how far it's gone and how well it's gone. And if there's any problems, let's work together to fix the problems. Not you messed up, that's it, and the communication's gone out the window. It's got to be a partnership. So I'm working with parents on a monthly basis, advising them, supporting them. There's email support in between the sessions. And because I'm a coach and I'm a therapeutic counsellor, I can jump between the different spaces in terms of whether it's just a communications issue or whether it's an emotional issue. I'm the outsider. I can objectively sit with my parents and say, are you sure you're not reacting to the teacher from 30 years ago? What's going on there for you? What you're saying here sounds a bit subjective rather than objective. How can you get your message to resonate with a teacher to help the teacher to come on board, as opposed to maybe getting the teacher's back up and only getting a minimum? So it's a bit of a mix.
Yeah. And just to to offer a little bit more of your background there to the parents that are listening. Obviously, there's a very personal element to the support that you do because of your experience with dyslexia and your children's experience with dyslexia. But coming from the therapeutic side of things as well, am I right in thinking that you're qualified or that you have some therapeutic qualifications that can support parents as well?
Absolutely. So let me qualify this. So when I'm working in the capacity of being a supporter with parents, I'm not being a therapeutic counsellor, but I'm drawing on those skills. I am an accredited therapeutic counsellor. I'm a member of the National Counselling Society. That is part of the national accreditation for therapeutic counselling. So it's the same group of organisations that say if you went to hospital, for example, for therapeutic counselling, then it's working at that standard. So what tends to happen in the way that parents get in touch with me, I have a diagnostic, a bunch of questions that I get them to answer that covers the different aspects of the support situation. And so I'm asking questions about how much they understand about special needs, how much they understand about assessing, how much they understand about their child's emotional needs, how much is it impacting on them emotionally, assistive technology and so forth. And this diagnostic really gives them a sense of how far they've come on the process in getting support. But it also helps to diagnose where the areas of focus need to be. So for example, last week I was talking to a parent who wanted support, but actually they worked out through this diagnostic that actually it was their child that might have needed some emotional support. And so they're engaging me as a therapeutic counsellor rather than the parent supporter. So, and that becomes a different thing. That becomes therapeutic counselling. I'm working with the parents in terms of them getting me to work with their child, but it's a confidential relationship with the child that is safeguarded and works within an ethical framework.
Understood. And so in terms of when parents ideally would come to you for support, when is the right time for someone to be getting in touch with you?
To be honest, most of the parents that are coming to me, it's really interesting because I have my parenting dyslexia group on Facebook. What tends to happen is most parents seem to get a screen in place or a diagnostic assessment in place. And then what they find is they get that done, but they don't know what to do next. So it's kind of surprising, but out of the 2,500 members of my group, I can literally count the number of dads on two hands. It all seems to be mums who have literally just started on the process. For whatever reason, they haven't been given information on what's next. And what they're doing is they're looking for information everywhere. And there's a lot of overwhelm. They don't know which bit of information is the right bit of information. What should they be taking forward? What should they be using? And so they look on Facebook, amazingly, and they're looking for dyslexia groups, and then they find these dyslexia groups and jump on. And so that's been my experience, is that most of the parents coming to me right at the point of, okay, I think my child has died dyslexic. What do I do now? And so I suppose to kind of condense this down, what I'm doing is I'm trying to help parents to get up that learning curve much more quickly than, say, when I went up it.
Absolutely. So it's passing on the information that you've tried and tested and hard earned, making the process easier for everyone, which I think is just so valuable in terms of speeding things up. So are there any limitations, or is there a ceiling sort of to where you go when you're supporting parents, or is it an ongoing support basis?
Yeah, so I think the ceiling in terms of support from me would be, I can support parents from a parent coaching perspective for as long as they need me. If they need someone to sort of partner with them who is objective, who's an outsider, who just wants to support them, then I'm there for as much or as little as they want to engage with me. Where the ceiling is very often where we have a situation where the negotiation strategies of school for some reason have fallen down. Yeah, there are some schools that will literally tell parents they don't recognise dyslexia, and that all the kid needs to do is to go into a special literacy class with all the other kids with special needs. And of course, they're not getting a personalised approach, and they have to fit in with a new set of rules now, and that isn't helpful. So at that point, that's probably where the EHCP element comes in. And of course, I'm not a legal expert. I know a bit about the process, mostly because I've learned about it from SEN Legal, and also IPSI as well is another great source of information. But I'm not qualified to talk people through, parents through the EHCP process, and would want to. So I signpost appropriately, but parents might find that they're struggling with engaging with that process. Maybe they're struggling with how they might conduct themselves in a tribunal. And so the emotional side of that, the preparing yourself so you can go in grounded and objective, rather than the emotions being the tail that wagged the dog, as it were, then I can help with that. But in terms of the legal aspects, that's not my field at all, and I wouldn't pretend to. I can give people general thoughts, but I generally refer people to Nicole Lee at SEN Legal.
And thank you very much for that. It's always appreciated, John. I'd keep an eye on the clock. I think that's all we've got time for in our discussion today. Thank you so much for coming along and talking about what you do, which is so invaluable to so many. In the interest of signposting, I'm sure there'll be lots of parents out there that want to know where they can actually go and find you, and where they can link up with you. So you just want to quickly run through websites, Facebook groups, etc.
Okay, so yeah, so on Facebook, if you I was going to say if you Google, no, if you go onto Facebook and search for Parenting Dyslexia with John Hicks, then you'll find my Facebook group. If you want to talk to me directly about your situation, then what I'm doing with parents is I'm saying, look, go to my, there's a web page, parentingdyslexia.co.uk/PD diagnostic. And I think that's going to come up on the screen. And basically, there's a little video that talks about what I do. And there's the diagnostic. You click on that button, there's 10 questions to answer, which assesses each sort of aspect of the support situation. And then once you've completed that, that gives me a sort of a background on where you are with the support. And then you can book a 15-minute chat with me and we can talk about the results. And in that meeting, you'll get a sense of how far you've come. And then you'll be able to go away with a couple of steps that you can confidently take to take the process forward. And if you want to work with me beyond that, you're very welcome to, but I'm happy to help. So if I can just share some ideas, then this mechanism helps me to do that in a much more closer way with parents.
Perfect. So if there is anyone out there that thinks that John might be able to help them, really do go and look him up. Have a chat. I'm sure that he'll be able to point you in the right direction and offer you the support that you need, and support that people like me cannot provide for you. So thanks very much again, John. Thanks for your time.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. Thank you.